Hello guys and welcome back. I've got another book video ready this week and I'm doing the book recommendation tag. Now this tag was made up by Steph, who we all know and love, and so many people in the comment section of that, and she said herself that we all missed the days when booktubers used to do book tags because they were like so much fun. So I'm so excited to participate in this one as well. I have all my questions. You can also find the questions down below in the description if you also want to do this tag as well. And now going into the first question, which is a book that you tell people is your favourite. And I don't think anyone will be surprised by this because I never stop talking about this book. It is Six of Crows, of course, by Leigh Bardugo. I love this book so much. I like to bring it up at any time I can. It's literally that good. This is a fantasy book, if you didn't know. It's found family, a heist, there's magic. It's great. I love literally every single character in this book. I love the storyline. It is absolutely amazing. So if you haven't read it yet, what are you doing? What are you doing? And there are many questions on this book tag that would definitely fit this book because it is my absolute favourite in the whole wide world. So if I am bringing up another book, just know that this was first pick, but I'm trying to create some variety. So not every answer is going to be Six of Crows, even though it should be. Next, a book that is your guilty pleasure, and this is one that I read recently. I talked about it more in my February wrap-up, but it is Crave, and this is like a magical boarding school book with vampires, shapeshifters and witches, and it just seems like a cheesy CW show, like literally Legacies, but in book form. It's hilarious and really good, and I've heard the series does get worse. This is the only one I've read so far. But I feel like I'd probably still enjoy it just because of how wild it is, and I loved the setting as well. But yes, this is definitely my guilty pleasure book. Next is a book that everyone loved but you didn't love. So the one that I did not like, It Ends With Us. I do have a whole reading vlog on this with all my thoughts and opinions, and I tabbed all the red flags, which I thought was really fun. Obviously, the stuff that happens in this book is not fun, but I had a good time tabbing all the horrible bits. Is that alright to say? I don't know. I don't know, but I was like, what could possibly happen next? And it just kept happening. The tabs are all there to prove it. But this one, I'm gonna look on Goodreads actually, like what the average rating is, but I feel like it is quite high because so many people loved it and so many people have read it. I feel like it's all been bumped up, but let's see. It Ends With Us. The average rating for It Ends With Us is 4.29, which is crazily high. Like, I don't personally understand why it is that high. I gave it a 2.5, and even then I still think that's a bit generous. But yeah, if you want to see my full thoughts, go watch that reading vlog. Next is a book that I read the fastest, and that would be Heartstopper. I read these all on Webtoon, so I don't have the physical copies, but I really wish I do because I love them so much and I would definitely reread. I read all 4 volumes like in, I think, less than 2 days, just because here I am scrolling on my phone going, woohoo, yes. And I didn't even realise how many pages I was going through. But if you have not read Heartstopper, what are you doing? It's absolutely amazing. Very easy to get through since it's a graphic novel and such a cute story, but just beware for the later volumes. There are mentions of eating disorders, but absolutely amazing. If you haven't read it, you will probably very much enjoy it. It is so good. So good. Next is a book that deserves more hype, and I 100% believe that this book should deserve more hype. It is Unnecessary Drama by Nina Kenwood. I love this book so much. I read it in January, and I also did talk about that on my January wrap-up, so if you want to watch that, I'll put it in the cards, whichever side it is. But it was so good. Set in Melbourne. It's like a contemporary fiction. There's a little romance aspect in there as well. Yeah, I think that one came out last year, so it is still, I guess, pretty new, but I've barely heard any people talk about it, and I don't understand why, because literally one of the best like contemporary fiction books that I've read ever. I really enjoyed it, and I think you should definitely read it. Next is a book that's becoming a movie/TV show, And I have a few options for these ones that are already out and getting like new seasons. So the first one, obviously, that I have to mention, Shadow and Bone, which is connected to Six of Crows. We all know this, right? But season 2 is coming. I literally can't wait. By the time this video goes up, I believe season 2 will already be out. So I will be watching it as we speak. Most definitely. If you don't know what this is about, it's like the prequel series to Six of Crows. So generally people read this before they read this series, but you don't have to. I would recommend reading this first though, because this can be a bit confusing if you don't have the background knowledge of how the magic system works. I did actually read Six of Crows before I read Shadow and Bone, but when I did my reread of Six of Crows, which happened after Shadow and Bone, I was like, oh my gosh, it makes so much more sense, and I really enjoyed it a lot more. So I would definitely recommend reading this one first. This is a trilogy. It's got Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, and Ruin and Rising. They're all amazing. I love it so much, and I love the maps in this series. Like, whoever does Lee's maps knows what they're doing. Like, this map is great. The one in King of Scars, which is the 3rd series in the Grishaverse, is absolutely amazing. I love maps in general. So if a fantasy book, or any book really, has a map, I'm like, woohoo. Anywho, so yes, Shadow and Bone, Six of Crows, they go together. Shadow and Bone season 2 out on March 16th. So yes, definitely go watch that. If you haven't seen the first season, definitely recommend, so that you can get prepared for the second season. Another one that's becoming a movie, It Ends With Us. I didn't really like it. I don't even know if I'll watch the movie. But Blake Lively got cast as Lily, and is his name Jason Baljoney? I don't know. Is that his name? Jason? Jackson? Jason? I don't know. Something with a J. But he's going to be Ryle. I don't really see it. Oh no. Oh my gosh. And that guy they cast as Atlas, I also don't see that. I feel like everyone is a lot older than I expected they would be. I'm still upset that Thea James wasn't going to be Ryle, because the fan cast for that on TikTok was like perfect, and if ever the movie was to be made, that would be the casting, but it wasn't. So that's disappointing. Probably won't watch the movie. I'm not too sure. Another TV show that has recently come out. Right now there's only the first 3 episodes out, but that is Daisy Jones and the Six. I believe there's going to be 10 in total. And if you haven't read this, what are you doing with your life? It's literally so good. It is a historical fiction about a band. It's a fictional band, but I think it's like loosely based on Fleetwood Mac, but it's about how the band broke up, and then you're getting the book told in like interview style, so you have the person's name and what they're saying, an interview obviously, about their like recollection of the drama that happened and the breakup of the band. It's literally amazing. I've watched 2 episodes so far of the show and I'm really enjoying it. I think the casting is great. Love it. If you haven't seen it yet, we definitely recommend. And then of course Heartstopper season 2 and 3, I believe, are coming out this year. So another chance for you to read the books before the show. The first season is out now, so if you would like to watch that as well, definitely do it. The next question is a book that I've reread the most, and that would probably be Six of Crows. Where is it? Under piles. Okay, Six of Crows. I don't really reread a lot of books, and the only books that I have like reread more than twice is Divergent and Six of Crows. I love Divergent, and I know people like really hate Divergent, but the first one's great. I hated the third one. Well, I didn't hate it. I really enjoyed it, but I hated the ending. Like, spoilers now if you haven't read the books. It's very different to the end of the movie, so I'm saying it now. Leave to this timestamp if you don't want to get spoiled for the books if you haven't read it yet. But Tris dies in the end of the 3rd book, and she doesn't in the movie. And then, like, the epilogue is like a couple months later or something, and Thor and Christina are together. I'm like, what was the reason? What was the reason? It literally does not make any sense at all. Why would that happen? The first book, absolutely amazing. Loved it. I love the movie as well. All the songs in the movie, it's just so nostalgic. I love it. Yeah, I've reread this like 3 times I think, and then Six of Crows, of course, and I'm going to do another reread soon because for Christmas my friend Becca from the book club, she annotated a copy of Six of Crows for me because it was her first time reading it, and so she's got all her thoughts written down, so I'm going to reread that and see what she also thought of the book because she knows it's my favourite as well. Reread is probably going to happen this year as well. The next one is a book from a genre that I don't usually read from but really enjoyed, and the first book being 1984. I'm not really someone that reads classics because I can find them quite dense sometimes, and it's like a big commitment for me to like want to read a classic, but 1984 was literally so good. I read this in like year 10, I want to say, not for school. I know some classes did read it, but I was like I want to see what's happening, and it was literally amazing. Classic dystopian, and the similarities between the book and like everyday life now, I'm like, that's crazy because I'm pretty sure it was written in like the 50s, so the technology wasn't as advanced as it is now, but it all like, it's just really good. If you haven't read it yet, definitely get on it. If you like classics, if you like dystopian in general. The writing isn't too hard to understand either, just the only thing that I remember like going ugh about is long chapters. I hate long chapters, and I find most classics generally do have long chapters, but this one is well worth it. Very good, really enjoyable. And then the next genre that I don't often read from is sci-fi. I am actually reading a sci-fi book right now. It's over on my desk. It's called The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin, which I've got like 100 pages left. I'll let you know how that goes at the end of the month, but the book that I'm recommending now is Cry's War. This is like a sci-fi slash fantasy, but it's about robots that have like kind of taken over the world, and they have humans as slaves. And Cryer, she's like a royal robot, and yeah, there's just a whole lot happens. And I did also read this and review it in my January wrap-up video, so if you want to hear more about that, you can. This is a duology. It also has Ironheart, which I also loved. I liked that better than the first one, but that series overall is very good. I don't really read a lot of stuff with robots in it, but it was amazing. Next is a book that deserves all the hype it gets, and that is 100% Legendborn. I love this book so much. I still haven't read Bloodmarked. I'm kind of nervous because I've heard people like felt numb afterwards, and I'm like, oh, what does that mean? I don't know if I want to know like right this minute, but like I kind of do because this one was great. I'm going to do a reread of this as well before I get to Bloodmarked, but this was like a 6 stars for me. I only have a few books that are of 6 stars, and this is one of them. Like the rest of the books that I rate 5 stars are like 5 stars. This is a 6 star, so 6 of Crows. 6 of Crows, 6 of stars. Yep. But this is absolutely amazing. It's based on like Arthurian legend, so there's the Knights of the Round Table, there's demons, there's Merlins. We've got an amazing magic system. It's urban fantasy, and it's set in like a university. It's got secret societies, literally all you could want in a book, and here it is. Absolutely love it, and it deserves every good thing that has ever been said about it. The next question is a book that I usually recommend when asked to give recommendations, and of course, Six of Crows, Legendborn, we all know. That is when I get asked about fantasy books, but for when I get asked about romance, usually the first book I go to is Beach Read. I feel like so many people would enjoy this book. Some of the other romances I've read that people recommend are like, oh yeah, that's like just a romance book, but this has like got other substance to it as well. Like I really enjoyed this so much. They talk about cults in it, and you know how I feel about a cult, so love a good cult. But yes, so that is romance. And then for like literary fiction, there are lots of people that enjoy literary fiction. No Hard Feelings, one of my favourites, and this was in my 5-star reads of 2022 video. I did talk about it more on there, but this is a debut for this author, and I'm like, wow, you did absolutely amazing. She's got another book releasing called Crushing this year. Can't wait to read that as well. It looks so good, and I just feel like she's going to be like one of my new favourite authors after I read a second book and after I see if I love that or not. But this one was amazing. This is a 5 stars, obviously, and it was set in Melbourne. Once again, love a good book set in Melbourne. I don't live in Melbourne, but I've been there, and I enjoyed it. It's about like a girl who is working, and this is what it says on the thing: hungover, underpaid and overwhelmed. And I'm like, yeah, that was just great. Another one that I feel is quite questionable for people in the literary fiction world, you either love it or hate it, and that is Normal People. But I was definitely on the side of loving this book. I found it so enjoyable, very interesting, very kind of like depressing as well. I think the thing that confuses people is like the whole way through there are no quotation marks, which isn't really that big of a thing. Like, some people get so caught up in that they can't actually get through the book. I thought that I might have trouble with it because this is the first thing that I've read that had anything like that before. I didn't find a single problem at all, and I actually found it like quite interesting because like you see in the text that it's something that someone might say or might think, and you don't know if they've actually said it until it's said like they said or whatever. But I just really enjoyed it. Really good, set in Ireland. There's also a TV show on Stan in Australia. I don't know what other streaming services it's on elsewhere, but I haven't watched it, so I don't know if it's really like worth watching. But Daisy Edgar Jones is in it and Paul Mescal, so I feel like it'd be great. But yes, those are my recommendations for when people ask for specific genres. But a book that has my favourite characters, obviously can't talk about Six of Crows. I've held it up too many times in this video, so I'm going with The Cruel Prince. Jude is one of my favourite female main characters in all of the books I've read ever. She is amazing. This is like quite a political fantasy. It did get really like pushed on BookTok as like an enemies to lovers. Don't go into the book series for that. It's a trilogy at the moment, and there's just been a spin-off series called The Stolen Heir that has recently been released this year. But this one is following Jude and Carden. Not in the first book. They are not together in the first book, so don't think that's going to happen. Jude is amazing. One of my favourite characters ever. So if you like a strong female main character, like an assassin-y type one, not that she's an assassin, but she kills people. So if that's what you want, read this book. It's about Faye, if I didn't say already, but yeah, very good. And once again, this has an amazing map. I love maps. Next is a book you wish you could live in, and that is Twilight for me. I've never read Twilight. I know it's really sad, but I love the movies, watch them all the time, and I really want to go to Forks. I've been looking on like Airbnb trying to see when the Twilight House is available, because if I was to ever go to Forks, let me stay in the Twilight House, it's literally booked out for like the next 3 years. How am I ever going to go to the Twilight House? It's not going to happen. But I just love a little foresty vibe, fog, forest, green. Sign me up. So yes, Twilight. If Robert Pattinson is there, I'm there. Next is a book that made you cry, and I do have a few. I have a few. First, Fault in Our Stars. Pretty self-explanatory. I read this in a day, and I cried the whole time. It was literally terrible. Terrible in a good way. It was a great book, but very sad. Second book, Perks of Being a Wallflower. This is super thin, but super impactful. I was like, oh my gosh, literally tears. I can't. Like, when I read this book, I was literally feeling depressed for like 2 weeks. So just beware. Beware, lots of stuff. Look up trigger warnings before you read this book. Lots of stuff happens. I haven't watched the movie. I don't even know if I want to do that to myself, but yeah, it's very good. It's written in like a letter form, so as if we're reading letters from the main character, and it's very interesting, but definitely cried. The final book in the crying section, Crooked Kingdom. Yep, that is the sequel to Six of Crows, and if you know, you know. I will not be saying anything about this. I'm not even going to put spoilers in, because you just have to read it and find out for yourself. I'm not warning you about what exactly happens, but just know it was really sad. It was really sad. And this is like the first book that I ever tabbed. There they all are. They're only like little tabs because I didn't have like the long ones. So they're like literally tiny, but I have different colours. I can read you the key. Not that you know what is going on because you can't really see the colours. But I tabbed for Nina and Matthias, which was blue. I tabbed green for Jesper and Wineland. I did purple for Kaz and Inej. I did orange for like individual funny things. And pink was quotable quotes. We got a few quotable quotes. And then yellow was like group interactions when all of them were together. And I dubbed it Croments, like crow moments, croments. I thought that was rather hilarious. Croments. Yes, I'm a word genius. That was hilarious, thank you. But yeah, I just love to just flick back and like look at the little moments, the croments. I'm literally gonna cry thinking about what happened in this book. But anyway, go read it and go have yourself a little cry. And the last question on this list is a book that you wish you could read for the first time. Obviously, don't really need to say much about it. It's my favourite book. If I could absorb all the information for the first time again, I would be so happy. So if you haven't read Six of Crows, go read it, because I'm jealous of your fresh eyes never seeing this story and you get to experience for the first time again, because literally absolutely amazing. Leigh Bardugo is a genius. Love her. That was the last question in this book tag. I really hope you enjoyed it, and thank you to Steph for giving this idea to everyone. Love it. Absolutely amazing. If you haven't watched her video yet, I'll link it down below. But yes, that is all for me for today. I would love to know your answers to any of these questions as well. Answer your favorite question or all the questions in the comments. Would love to know your answers, and I will see you next week with a new video. Goodbye.